We live. We're live. Happy days. Welcome back. This is hashtag coronavirus, windsurf coaching, TWS, Severn Hub, hashtag free. No, this is our third version.
Number 3.
Well, your second one.
Yeah.
Got Luke Baillie back. My name's Colin Whippy Dixon. This is Luke Baillie. We are going to try and entertain you for the next hour. We've been doing this every Sunday. It's been working out quite well, I think. Well, we haven't watched it once actually, but we've had some good feedback, so we keep going and going until you kind of stop watching, and then we will stop, I'm sure. How's your week been, Luke?
It's been a really good week here actually in Tenerife compared to the previous 7. We've managed to get out, do some sport, been out a lot more. Still no wind, unfortunately, but generally things are on the up, which is good.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to, we're kind of just gone through phase 0. That's a bit weird, they didn't start phase 1. But tomorrow we start phase 1 here in Tenerife. Taking in mind we had 2 months of lockdown already, so we've been locked up in the house. It's been pretty full on here, like kind of army on the street and stuff. So we've had 2 months of lockdown. Now we've just gone through phase 0. Now Monday, tomorrow, we start phase 1. Talk to me about phase 1, Luke.
So phase 1, basically it means that some of the bars and restaurants can open. Their terraces at 30%, so you will be able to get a coffee, we'll be able to get a beer, and you can meet up in groups of up to 10 people as long as you regulate your distance a little bit. So it gives us a bit more freedom to do stuff, to get out. At the moment they haven't really announced that we can do sport more in different hours of the day, so we're still trying to cram a windsurf or sup session in, or even a mountain bike session at the last hour of sunlight every day or at the crack of dawn. But it's happening slowly, which is good to see.
Basically we're restricted to 2 times a day to go out from the age of 18 to 50, I think, or 60.
It's 14 and up.
Is it 14?
Well, yeah.
Okay, that's how much I know about it. So 14 and up, and basically you can go out in the morning to do some exercise, or in the evening. That sucks really, because everybody at 8 o'clock goes out at our age bracket, and it is carnage. So hopefully they will change the timing, but we are getting out and about, so that's quite cool. Have to say big up to Bike Point in Tenerife. Thank you very much for hooking me up. I'm like a new kid this week. I've got into mountain biking or e-biking. Don't slag off until you tried it. That's all I can say for those people going, oh yeah, you're lazy. Yes, I am a little bit lazy, but the e-bike has changed me. And what I've realised here in Tenerife, I fell in love with the place when I first came here anyway, but now I've seen a new light. The trails just out the back here are off the scale. We've had great fun, We've done covered 100 and something kilometres, I think, this week.
Yeah, no, we've done a lot, and for those of you that know Colin, know that him getting up at 7:30 in the morning with no other reason than to go mountain biking means that something special is on. Because that time of day is not Colin's favourite thing to do, so that's how much he's been loving it.
Yeah, no, it's good. I feel like a 14-year-old. But with a body of a 50-year-old at the moment. So I'm like, yeah, I want to go over the jumps, and I'll wake up the next day, I'm like, wow, my back and my legs. So yeah, it's been fun and games, but hopefully we're due some wind. It's been actually, for you guys that were meant to be out here for the last couple of weeks and you couldn't come out here, you haven't missed anything yet. We're still waiting for that wind to kick in. But hopefully once it does kick in, it'll be in for the whole summer. That's what we're hoping.
Yeah, would be good. It's been a really strange spring.
Yeah, really.
Very,
no wind at all,
Very little wind, but that's basically the one thing that's probably kept us all sane.
Yeah,
in Médano, certainly. There's a lot of windsurfers looking at it every day, and if it had been blowing 35 knots, then I think there'd have been a few more issues.
Cool. So last week we had a bit of a not meltdown, but we had lots of questions because we've got quite a few live pages on going up now, and we had a few questions on my page, Windsurf Coaching, that we didn't come round to. So we've got a list of them from last week, so we apologise for that, and hopefully we're going to try and be a bit more live and direct on the answers. We've got a new screen, as you can see, that's coming straight from you guys to us. So maybe we'll crack on with the first questions from last week, and then if you guys got any questions at home, please don't be shy to fire them in, and hopefully we can answer them there and then. So the first question is from Jeff.
Yeah, so from Jeff.
Big
Hi,
Jeff.
How you doing?
Don't know
Good
Jeff.
to hear from you.
Jeff helps runs the competition, the pro comps in the UK, the UKWA.
A legend, very good windsurfer himself. And he wants to know who is the best windsurfer ever and currently.
That is a very hard question.
How do you even go there?
Yeah,
over the whole
discipline?
of windsurfing. I think for me that's the biggest thing. Now you get a lot more of people specialising in one discipline, whereas when we were growing up, and our heroes back then, which was Nash and Dunkerbeck, they'd have to win everything. You know, they would be slalom, wave, freestyle didn't exist maybe, but course racing, they really had to do it all.
It was an overall title. So basically we see now that we had the disciplines of the wave, we had the freestyle and the slalom. Like back in the day when we grew up, and you know, you were watching windsurfing on VHS or Sky One at midnight, maybe if you're lucky, or Eurosport. You had to win all disciplines. But then if you talk to, you know, I think there was a video of Robbie Nash, he used to travel with something like, I don't know, 40 bags or something ridiculous like that. So it is a bit of a tough question. So what about, Luke, who is your best windsurfer when we were growing up?
I mean, for me, I think style's got to be the inspiration, not necessarily titles or competition victories. I always was big for people that had style, and the two that really stood out for me was Pollock for his like aggressiveness, but I think for the smoothness and just the raw talent, I really loved Francisco Goya, as it happened.
Yeah, fair enough. We actually saw Francisco when he became world champion in 2000 in Ireland. We did a bit of a road trip, me and Luke, with our local lake, and went over there, and that's when I think we saw our first double live and direct. It was like, oh wow, premium bands. It was exciting. But yeah, so for me, Robbie Nash, you can't ever take it away from Robbie Nash. He's the king. He is the one that kind of, you know, opened the doors to a lot of windsurfing. Jason Pollock was the one that kind of inspired a lot of people like Francisco Goya and stuff to, you know, add the tweakage and stuff. Still, my favourite board was the JPs when they first came out.
The yellow ones.
Yeah. But yeah, for me it's either Jason Pollock for his radical style back in the day, or Francisco Goya just for his smoothness and silkiness, and he was the one that really started to go more vertical and stuff. Nowadays, now this is the question that we answer nowadays.
Yeah, that is a tough one.
Right, so I'm going to throw it out there. For me personally, overall, if we took someone that can dominate, or not dominate, but do foiling now, that's a new discipline that we didn't have back in the day, who's bloody good at freestyle, waves, and, you know, slalom. There's not many people, and I'm going to have to put it out there. He's young, and he's not a world champion yet, but Amado from Bonaire. Now that kid rips. Like, he's the most whitest black man I've ever met. He's pretty gangster. The guy's got so much style. He's pretty young, even though if you look at him, he's built like a brick. Like, he's massive, but the guy's just got pure raw talent, like overall on everything. He dominates on the freestyle. Foiling, he's so quick. Slalom, he's been slalom champion 11 times when he was a rookie. Wave sailing, he's getting into that, and I saw him last year in Cape Town pushing it with Gorlito. Yep. He's got a good double and stuff, so I reckon if he pushes the waves, but I reckon overall Amado for me. But for wave sailing, I've got to put it out there, there's two people for me that completely shine. And how I see the wave sailing is not just one place, is someone that can shine and consistently over everywhere. Like, you know, you go to Canaries where the wind's coming from the left, or you go to Maui where it's down the line, wind from the right. For sure, Brasilio for me. Like, I see him doing doubles on 5.7s all the way to 3.7s, like always perfect. He rips on both tacks. He's definitely up there, and there's one more person I'd like to add that's always kind of been, you know, like he always rips, and he's one of the lightest guys on tour, and that's Thomas Traversa. Now, Thomas Traversa is a pure, all about hunting down the biggest waves possible, trying to, you know, go for adventures that are not really possible, but he makes it happen. So I've seen Traversa in Jaws. I was very lucky when I went to Maui, I saw Jaws working. And man, I've never seen someone go up so late and hit the lip. And it was like, for me, a magical moment. Then I saw him in the Hookeeper wobble out on his tiny little board and just absolutely destroyed it. And then that year he won the Red Bull Storm Chase weighing 60 kilos. So he's definitely up there. Luke?
Yeah, I don't disagree with many of your shouts. I mean, you can't take away how good at competition Philip Costa is. He's like a machine at doing stuff.
For sure.
But I'm going to go out there and say I think one of the most naturally talented sailors out there, destroys it across all disciplines, is probably Sarah Keita. Unbelievable talent. Like, just has done stuff to the women's windsurfing that I didn't think would ever happen. Like, she dominates across slalom, across wave, across freestyle, and just makes it look effortless. Do you know what I mean? She's never not smiling, never having a bad day, just loving what she does on the water, and I think that's
she's a great ambassador, Sergita. If you ever meet her, she'd always smile and say hello. She's got time for everyone. But I think she's something like one of the most successful female sports or athletes in the world with the amount of world titles. And I think she never lost a freestyle heat ever until Hooverman.
Yeah, Micah took a freestyle heat down. The final anyway.
Yeah, in the final. Never beaten her overall, but she's on her case. But that's the first time, I think it was like something like 9 years she never lost a heat. But yeah, Sergita, amazing and always a legend.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's the first question.
Moving on, Colin. Hi, Colin. Colin spends a lot of time here in Médano. Devastated he can't be here right now, but hopefully you'll be back soon and enjoying your lockdown in the UK. It's been sunny at least, although I do hear it's going a bit Arctic this week, so enjoy your frost and all of that.
In the UK?
Yeah.
Really?
Apparently. He would like to know what are your favourite wave spots for cross-on and cross-offshore wave sailing? We did a bit of this last week, didn't we?
Yeah, definitely cross-on. I love this place, of course. Tenerife. it's like Tenerife has it all. You have the point, like the wall, and then you have Cabezzo for the jumping and riding. Tenerife, UK. I'm a big fan. Definitely up there in my top 3 is Rosniger in Wales and Anglesey. Hi to all the Rosniger boys. Onshore, definitely Coronation Beach, Western Australia.
That's the one for me. There's no better cross-onshore spot than that.
Yeah, so is that yours?
That is mine, 100%.
So Coronation in Western Australia for Luke, and definitely up there for me. I'm a big fan of Tenerife, of course, so that's why we live here. Now cross-off, that's a good one for you, Luke?
That's a tough one. I think there's 2 that come into the mix, maybe 3. Obviously we spoke about Nalu in West Australia last year. That's amazing. Last week, not last year.
Yeah, seems like last year.
Really long wave, very powerful, that's good. I can't write off Ireland. We go to Brandon Bay every year, and if you get Brandon Bay world class, it is truly world class. It's amazing cross-offshore conditions. And then the last one, which a lot of people probably haven't been to, is Taranaki in New Zealand, which offers some incredible waves. It's not as consistently windy or as tropically sunny as some of the other places, so it often gets overlooked.
Lots of sheep.
But man, the waves there, they're not crowded and they're very, very long and really, really just beasting conditions for cross-offshore. So
didn't you tick all 3 boxes when you're in Taranaki?
No, you can do a triple in Taranaki. You can surf, windsurf and snowboard in the same day, and I managed to snowboard on fresh powder and also get cross-offshore down the line wave sailing in the same day. Surfing would have just crippled me. I was so tired.
You can't surf?
No, banging at surfing. What are you talking about?
For me, down the line cross-off. It's a personal preference. Like, everybody has their favourite tack. For me, surfing. If I ever go snowboarding or skateboarding, not that I've ever done that much since I was a kid, but I'm always left foot forward. So for me personally, Baja, Mexico, Punta San Carlos, Solo Sports, it is like we grew up to Surfers Tension. It was a video back in the day, I'm sure people remember that. And there was, who was it, Boyd? What's his?
Ian Boyd.
Ian Boyd.
Yeah.
And if you ever watch that video, I'd highly recommend it. And we remember as kids watching it, you know, and there was this guy that just did this constant body drag going down the line for about 150 metres, then he'd get in, do a little top turn, bottom turn, then body drag again for another 300 metres. And ever since that video, I always wanted to go to Baja. Now, lucky enough, we've been going there for the last 3 years with the clinics. Shame not this year, I've really missed it. But and it lived to all expectations. It was amazing, like for me, it was just everything that I dreamed of, and it was there. So definitely for me, Punta San Carlos, Baja is the nicest place for down the line.
Yeah.
Cool.
I've not been, but yeah.
No, I know, and I know it's on your bucket list.
It's definitely on my bucket list.
I will get you there one day, so when we get full clinics, we will take Luke. Let's take Bailey.
Yeah, I'm up for it. Lizzie won't like it, but
no, I know, this is the problem. You have to argue with your other half on this one.
Yeah.
I can take 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Not sure if you want me.
Alright, so one from Martin Bow. I don't know if I'm saying your name right, probably not. But what size do you set the foot straps up when foiling at speed? I
have normal size foot straps. For me personally. I don't really fall at really high speed. I don't really do the racing sort of side of things. I go fast enough. I can go around the corner fast enough. I wouldn't, compete against the PWA guys, but I'm not into that sort of foiling. Personally, I actually like to go strapless. But if we talk about foot straps, I think foot straps are for your feet, they're not toe straps. That's the most important thing. And definitely for foiling, you don't want to be sailing on your toes. You still want to have your foot in. I probably would set them up like I would do my slalom board, and that's minimum, you see your little toe. So when you put your foot in the foot strap, you should still be able to see your little toe. So it means that you're still on the balls of your feet and you're not on your tiptoes. So that's probably for me. Anything, would you say the same?
I think the same really. I haven't foiled exclusively for speed, but I would imagine that it's going to follow similar rules to slalom setup. Yeah, you're going to want.
I think when it was really weird when I first got into foiling, I was with Sam Ross that was in Basilica, Bubble and stuff, and it was all new, and Sam was writing the scheme for the RYA, that's like the Royal Yachting Association safety thing, and it was all new, and like Sam at first, it's completely changed now, but he was like, yeah, you need short lines, small foot straps, and then for me it just felt wrong, like, because I've never sailed like that anyway, and I tried it and I just felt awkward.
Never?
Well, not for many years. Yeah, not for many years. But, and then for me, I just felt like I sailed with a normal setup. Maybe I'd make my lines a little bit wider, and that was for me. And then I think Sam then sort of looked at it and went, actually, yeah, you know, there's many options, because then at first I was just foiling, it was just race foil really, but now there's so many other options out there. It's a bit more like the surfing foiling where you're pushing down and not so much pushing out and against the foil like you do on a normal fin. Yeah. So it depends what board, but whatever foot straps, if it's a foil or windsurfing board, minimum you want to see a little toe when you put your foot in the foot strap, and that's why they're called foot straps and not toe straps. How's your screen?
Screen's looking good. Luckily, I memorised the last question. This is from Kelvin.
Kelvin, how are you?
How you doing, Kelvin? I hope your ankle's feeling better, because I know you had a little issue where you might have broke it.
Talking about small foot straps and small harness lines, Kelvin's, when we first met Kelvin, he had the small foot straps, big harness lines, and we converted him, and now he's a different sailor, I'd say.
Once he recovers from his
injury.
Alright, so can we give him some tips on maintaining speed and momentum when sailing front side in side on wind conditions, so that he can look a little bit more like Victor Fernandez rather than Victor Meldrew?
Well, we all want to look like Victor Fernandez. Victor Meldrew, Victor, he's like the old...
One foot in the grave. I think there's maybe the European
people that don't understand that. He's like an old, sort of very old guy who walks around. But Victor, yeah, we all would like to look like Victor for sure. Top tips from dropping in on onshore waves would be, first thing I'd ever say about wave sailing, you never want to shoot in front of the wave. You always want to either be going up or down the line, never really in front. Moving your hands is a massive thing for onshore or any wave riding. Like, make sure when you drop in that you get that backhand down the boom, so you can really sheet in and use that power. And also you can control that power when you're coming up glue first to the wave. And I'd say, yeah, dropping in up the line really on onshore, when you be starting going upwind as you're dropping in on top of the hill, and then dropping down and around. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong with onshore wave sailing. They try and put their board too far downwind, like you would when it's cross off. And when you do that when it's onshore, you end up losing the power a lot. What else I'd say? Probably the good stance when you clue first, switch stance. So as you drop in, you end up being sort of switch stance, clue first. Now the key to clue first sailing is having a nice wide grip. Okay, and also really important to always look where you want to go. And bending the knees. Anything you'd like to add, Luke?
I think we see a lot when we're coaching is people tend to overshoot the sail and kind of Robbie Nash, Jason Pollock, big lay down. And that's great in cross offshore conditions. It's what you really want to do to get more of the rail in, but in cross on, you have to keep the sail a lot more upright and a lot more forward.
Yeah,
to keep the power in the sail through the whole turn.
If you ever look at anybody when they're wave riding, Adam Lewis is a good one for this. Where, like, there's a few really good shots of him, and like literally he's so far forward, and the sail's forward, and the board's so flat. I think, as Luke, what he said earlier, is it's a classic when people go in and they think they're Robbie Nash. You know, we've all seen that picture of Robbie Nash laying down, looking at that massive wave, and that's fine when they're big and it's cross off. You can do that to ditch the power. But with onshore, you always tend to, if you do that, you put too much weight on the back of the board that ends up stalling your speed. So when we teach onshore, when we teach onshore, it's all about not sheeting in and leaning back. It's actually getting our weight forward and sheeting in and keeping the sail forward and keeping that board flat. I think that's a big key.
I'm going to skip to this one. Colin, who we answered the question for earlier, he just has to ask, what does the whitest black man ever mean?
If you ever go to Bonaire, of course there's a Dutch. He's like a gangster. Like, I don't know, he's...
Can we say Vanilla Ice?
He reminds me, yeah, Vanilla Ice, perfect example. Yeah, we go Amado's like a Vanilla Ice. But hopefully it'll last more than like 2 years. And already he's proved that where Vanilla Ice didn't. He's just like, I don't know, I've got to be careful what I say here. Have you ever seen Tonky Frans windsurf? Tonky Frans is one of the most stylish guys ever, like Gorlito.
Definitely, yeah.
And it's a bit like black man, white man in the dance floor, okay? You go onto a dance floor with 10 white people back in England and most people would be dancing like your dad like this and there'd be one guy with a bit of ribbon, okay? Then you go to Bonaire or the Caribbean, or I spent a lot of time in Venezuela, and there'd be like, 10 sort of like black guys and they've all got ribbon. Apart from one, and that's the difference. Where Amado's he's like the most rudest white boy ever. Legend though, a lot of time for Amado.
I've had all my questions scrapped after that, Colin. We've been taken off air.
And we've been taken off air. Hopefully that's not like, I'm not being racist.
And I'm only joking, Colin.
So
one from Trevor. Yeah. All right, Trev, how you doing?
Essex. Hello, Essex.
So tri-fin board, how does adjusting the side fins and centre, if they adjust, affect the trim of the board?
Well, Trev's got a Goya, so he can't do the side fins. So that's that.
Well, he's told you he's got a Goya. He might have sneakily bought something else.
Well, basically, if you put your fins closer together, the board will turn a bit more like this, and if you spread them apart, then you get a bit more of a wider arc. Now, if you've got a board that feels a bit like it's not very loose off the top and stuff, by knocking that centre fin forward, it puts it more under your back foot, makes the board a lot looser. And again, if you ever want to try these things, each time that you try, adjusting stuff on your board, if you can, try to do one extreme to another. So if you've got an adjustable, rear fin, put it all the way to the back, go out for a run, and then put it all the way to the forward and go out for a run, and then you can kind of feel the difference, and then find that happy medium. Anything you'd like to add on that?
No, I mean, trim of the board is, if we're not talking how it feels on the wave, then basically whenever you move your centre fin or the side fins further back, it's going to give you more speed, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
And then having certainly the centre fin further forward is going to give you less speed but more manoeuvrability. And the closer the sets of fins are, it's all manoeuvrability, and the further apart they are, it's all speed.
So for you, Trev, if you're going down Southend, and if no one knows, Southend's like it's actually world famous speed run, where when the tide goes out it gives this perfect sandbar. A lot of world records have been broken there back in the day. For you, when you go down there and the boys got their slalom kit, put your fin at the back, and then when you go down the south coast there's a bit of wave sailing or potential that you can turn on a wave, whack it forward, and then it will turn you a bit better.
All right, so Daniel says we're both looking beautiful still.
Big Dan.
Who did our makeup?
Who did our makeup? Well, actually, Dan, I don't know if you can see, but there's a massive moon-shaped light that makes me look really pale. We've actually got a good tan, but can you see that? Look, this is why I look ill. Okay, Luke's actually got a nice suntan one down there. But 2 months, Dan, with not having any sunshine, being locked in a house will do it. We miss you, big man. Where have you been? I went to Maui with Dan.
And I bought a surfboard off him back in 90.
In Australia,
yeah.
Actually, Dan came up to me in Rosnigo. I met him once. We met him in Australia, travelling around Australia.
To be fair, I just got to say, totally inappropriate surfboard for my level at the time. So thanks, Dan.
Yeah, standard Dan, Northern Dan. He'll be all right, lads. Sell it. Dan. I saw Dan in Rosnigo. And it's quite a funny story because I was like, hey, lad, what are you doing here? And I was like, well, doing a forward clinic. He was like, hey, I've wanted to learn the forward for ages. And I basically, such the richest, tightest man in the world. I looked down, joined the clinic, he was like, oh, I can't afford that, even though he owns about 10 bars. And I'm like, come on, Dan, come and join it. He said, here, I'll tell you what I'll do. If you can teach me the forward, I'll pay for the clinic. If you can't, I won't. And I was like, well, you've got to be able to want it. We can teach as much as we want, but if you ever want to learn the forward, there's something in your head that, or down there, or wherever it is, that flicks that switch, and you've got to want to do it. We can teach you the right tuition for sure, but there's something that we can't teach you.
We can't physically make you pull the trigger. That's up to you.
And Dan did it, and actually at the end of the clinic, he was like, he gave me more. He was so happy. So yeah, nice to see you, Dan. Want to see you marry again at some point. Very entertaining. Hope all is well.
Alright, so a couple of shout outs. Ian Phillips, it's very windy in the UK right now on the south coast, but his kit's locked in the shed. That's unlucky.
Welcome to our world.
At least you've got some dogs, a couple of horses, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's pretty hard. I do appreciate, definitely for any windsurfer out there that's near the coast.
So they're not allowed on the water in the UK still? Because I see pictures of people sailing, I see some people doing it, some people not doing it. I think it's a bit weird.
I think most people try not to do it to kind of keep.
So Graham, Highstead, cheese. Another one in the Essex.
Oh yeah.
What's the most important part of the shortboard tack?
I think where people go wrong with a shortboard tack is one of the first things we teach as a beginner windsurfer is we teach you how to tack. And when you're a beginner windsurfer, you're not really moving that fast. But when people think about tacking a shortboard, they kind of think it's a thing you do when you run out of speed and run out of power. I do a tack, but actually, for me personally, when I have no power on my wakeboard and I'm not really planing and the board's not so stable, I'd always do a slam drive because I've always got constant power in the sail to lean against. I think where most people go wrong with a tack is when they start to think about it, they unhook, they move all their hands and all their feet. By the time they've actually gone up into wind and gone round the front, they've killed all their speed. The board becomes very unstable and very wobbly. I think that's probably lots of speed. That's the key. Like, you know, when I do my tack, I try and stay hooked in for most of my preparation. What I mean by that is I stay hooked in, use my body weight, so I can not use an energy. I move my back hand forward, I move my front hand, move my feet, and the last thing I do is unhook and then carve up into wind. I think that's a big key for the tacking, is to keep lots and lots of speed. Would you say?
Yeah, I mean, we get a lot of people that say, oh, I'm fine on my 110, 120 litre board, but once I get down under 90 litres, it stops working. And then you go and sail with them, and they change how they tack on the smaller board. When they're on a bigger board, you're really confident, so you really take that speed into the tack, like Colin talked about. And then they even move around the front with confidence, because they know if they get it a little bit wrong, the board's still got a bit of volume. You put them on their small board, and they kind of do this really slow, tentative carve into the wind, and then even the movement around the slow, they're trying to tiptoe and hesitate around the front. And on a small board, you've got to be more confident and really go for it. Like it's better to overcommit to the movement than to try and tread lightly, because the board's not going to give you the time.
As soon as you hesitate in windsurfing or anything, if you go and go, oh, I'm not sure about this, then it's all over. You've got to think positive. You can do this. Muscle memory, once you get your footwork, we spoke about this the other day, too, like the jibing and the tacking, that's all you're going to need ever for your footwork. So if you can learn your footwork properly when you're out on your big boards, then it shouldn't be an issue. Just quickly, if I can take the camera and just show you this gorgeous looking board here. Sorry, Harko. Okay, quickly, the centre line's the line that runs directly down the middle. Now this is what, an 86 or something like this? 98. Okay, now even if it's a speed board, it would still have a centre line, the board would be this wide. If it's a beginner board, it will be this wide, but still has the middle of the board. Now I think most people, when they go out and practice tacking and stuff, is they get lazy with their feet. And like if you ever come on a clinic with us, we'll give you a slap down and go, oi, no. Okay, always remember the centre line, and if you ever drop your tack on your sup and you fall in, have a look down at your feet and pretty much guarantee your feet won't be in the right position. So try and train when you do your light wind stuff. Don't get lazy because you're on a big board. Try and keep it like it's your wakeboard, and that's really going to help a lot of people, I think.
And even like when you were here, Graham, I remember we did a lot of times on the beach, didn't we? We simulated a lot on the beach, doing it on the small board. And I know we had a couple of ladies last week that went up to the top of a hill and practiced water starting after our chat, and found it really helpful. And you can still do that in these lockdown conditions. You can get your board out, your rig out, and you can still work on that movement around the front for sure.
We're not going to talk about tack or jibe, but if anybody wants to know about this, if you go onto the TWS site or my YouTube channel, Windsurf Coaching, there's some tuition videos of the tacking and jibing. And basically what I'd highly recommend is the muscle memory that we teach you with the foot movement, learn it, because that's all you're going to ever need to know. And it'll make our jobs a lot easier when you come on to our clinics and we're like, right, you know the feet, let's work on the sail. Cool.
Right, so Colin Gorham, what about a board for cross on or a board for cross off? Different fin setup, different board. What would you do?
Honest truth, like, my quad does it all. Like, you know, the boards have got so good nowadays. It was like, and even the sails back in the day, you used to have, like, for onshore sail, you'd have a much powerfuler sail, and then for down the line sails, it would be much lighter, so probably less battens, and you kind of want no sail in your hand. The technology nowadays with the boards and you know the how they've come on is a board can cover a lot. Like my quad, I will take with onshore, down the line, or whatever. Will I change anything? Maybe I'd change my fins. I'd bring, for onshore, I'd bring the fins forward more so it's under my foot. And then for when it's cross off, definitely if it's big, I'd spread them out. Sail, tuning wise on my sail, again, you don't need to buy an onshore or a down the line sail. Like nowadays, like for me, I use the bonsais, you're on the Saverns, they're just a bit of tuning. I'd say, if anything, I'd probably, when it's onshore, bag my sail out a bit, give me a bit more power. Like so I can, you know, work my way out and get out. When it's like cross off and down the line, I'd probably flatten my sail off actually. Like, you know, so it's
so you lose the power.
Yeah, so I can ditch the power. Yeah, so that's probably my top tips. I would never, like for me, I don't have an onshore sail, or like my kit covers me for everything, and you know, so just a little bit of tuning and the way that you rig your kit really helps. Anything you'd like, would you change?
Not really. I think if
maybe rig a bit bigger.
If you're, yeah, I mean, if it's wobble and ride or it's harder to get out and cross offshore often, then you're going to want a little bit more sail. But it's about getting out and sailing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people get hung up on board and sail setup, and you just need to get out there and do practice in the actual skill.
It's just time on the water. Like you get used to anything. I you know, talk to a lot of people that are after sponsor, you know, trying to get their first sponsorship and stuff, and they're like, oh yeah, we want this or we want that. It's like, well, we all want everything, you know, but you kind of got to get what you can get, and you get used to whatever. And it's like, it's quite weird because I'm getting into the bike and I feel like a complete rookie, you know. I'm like, I did my first jump, and it's like when you do your first chop hop, I'm like, ooh, I did my first jump. It's about this big, but it felt really big, you know. And it's just, each day that I go out on my bike, you know, because I'm new to biking, I get more confidence because I'm getting used to it, and I know that balance point, I know where the power is. And it's the same with windsurf kit, you know. For sure there's some kit that's just wrong, that shouldn't, you know, shouldn't be out on the water. Like maybe if you're rigging up an old retro 1980 like slalom sail, and you're going out in the waves, or you got the wrong mast or something. But most of the kit, modern kit nowadays is pretty good, and it's just getting used to your own equipment. And half of it, you know, is the battle of being in tune with your equipment, so you're not fighting it. Because if you relax, you're not wasting energy, and then you can concentrate on that energy when you're, you know, doing your tacks or jibes or wave rides or anything like that.
Just, get used to your kit is really important.
Time on the water, eh?
Yeah. Right, so a couple of shout outs. Mike Paul, how you doing, Mike? You good?
He was meant to be coming out here actually.
He was. Jofo, I hope I'm saying your name wrong. He says, hola from Buffalo, New York in America.
Wow, New York.
Esteban de Cruz loves my t-shirt.
Hey, I'm Joe. Just to let you know, if you're a windsurfer in New York, I've got a really good friend who lives in New York that's a super keen windsurfer too. Okay, so please message me.
Probably no.
Actually, no, yeah, it's a pretty big place. But actually, I know about 3 or 4 windsurfers in New York, and they always say there's no one to windsurf with. So my mission is to connect you all.
Hook you all up,
so Max, Leor's a really good friend of mine, bloody good accountant if you need an accountant. And Joe, maybe you can all team together and actually go windsurfing, because they always moan that there's no one to windsurf with. So maybe we can change this and connect everybody together.
But thanks for tuning in, all of you. So Nicholas, Didier, any chances to go to Spain this summer despite the Spanish government's decision to close frontiers until October? That's not done and dusted yet, so everything's changing all the time. Like, we don't necessarily know that they've closed up definitely till October. There's talk of flights coming from some parts of Europe as early as kind of late June, early July, so that we have a bit of a summer season. So at the moment, there's a chance that we will be open at a reduced capacity for July and August, but that may change. Like, basically they assess the numbers every week and they decide what's happening. Obviously we're getting relaxed a little bit now, but if the infections go up again, then they'll just slow it right down. But there is a chance that we could have people out here in July and August for our kind of peak and best season of the year. So fingers crossed. We'd love to see you all.
We're pretty lucky we're on an island, so it's quite easy to kind of stop it all and kind of, you know, keep an eye on everybody. I know some of the places in Spain are kind of still on lockdown, like definitely in Madrid and stuff. So there's a map of Spain and you can have a look at the areas where it's really bad. And I think the Canaries, because as again we're on islands, as long as we're on it and we keep to the rules, I think that's half the battle. As long as we're allowed out next week, as long as everybody doesn't, you know, take the piss and go out and sort of, you know, meet too many people, and that's the problem if we have another phase, second phase, and then it's all game over. So stay at home, keep safe, listen to the rules of your government and stuff, and hopefully we will slowly get back to normal. But yeah, it's looking pretty promising here. Definitely, just last week we had phase 0 and they were like, well, you know, are we going to go to phase 1? Are they going to stick by the rules? And everybody's been pretty good. The police are on it. And so here in Tenerife and most of the Canaries, we're going to phase 1 next week. So that's exciting. We'll have 2 people in a car now.
Yeah, we can go places.
We're not allowed 2 people next to each other. One's got to still be sat in the back, but Luke can show me about. It's quite nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right, so Pierre. Hi Pierre, how you doing? Met him in Dahab many moons ago. Very tall bloke. Used to be really good at volleyball until his knees gave him a bit dodgy. Yeah. He's having a week off in October, and where would we recommend he goes? Flat water for his friend. Anything for him except massive waves.
$1 million question, that one.
Yeah.
It depends where you're allowed to go.
October's hard, doesn't it? Because it's like past the European summer season.
The UK is good in October because he's living in the UK, isn't he? Even though he's French.
Yeah.
And Tenerife's always pretty good in October, but again, it all depends on the restriction of travel. You know, it's the $1 million question. Christ. Like if I could have told you where I should be right now, what I should have been doing, and everybody's like, well, what are you going to do next? It's like, well, each time I'm trying not to cancel my clinics, but you know, it's like I was hoping to see the Essex boys, Trevor and Cheese, here in about 2 weeks, and it was like, I'm really hoping, you know, 2 months ago I was hoping that was going to be fine, it would be all over, but it's not. So let's see. But you know, flat waters, good lakes in the UK. October again is a really good time, but flat water, Egypt's coming back in the game.
Tenerife any good in October?
Tenerife, the whole of Spain's good. It's pretty good in October.
Well, last October was amazing, but it's not the peak season. I haven't really got a proper flat water spot as yet. It's a bit lumpy, but it's not.
Yeah, it's if you're flexible and the flights are flexible and you can do it, you can kind of do it on a forecast if you want to live like that. A lot of my, you know, dedicated mates and clients that are windsurfers, they kind of go, right, where's it windy? Let's go to Pozo for 4 days or 5 days. But again, there's not so many available flights at the moment, so let's see how it all turns out.
All right, so we've got a couple here from Andy Bobble Chambers, who wants to know for me how it's been living with a teenager for the last 2 months. So it's, I've already got 2 kids of my own, so just adding to that equation is not so difficult. You just kind of adjust and a little bit more cleaning, a little bit more washing.
I think he feels your pain. I live with Bubble and travel with Bubble for many, many years. So.
And he also says, well, you could have put on a clean t-shirt, Colin, what are you doing?
It's sweat. Sorry, but I've got, again, this big moonlight right in my face here and it's quite hot. It's BJ Productions, it's not BJ Productions anymore. 7 Pixels have gone to the extreme and it's like a studio in here and that's why I'm sweating. So
there's a lot goes on behind the scenes to make Colin look this good.
Yeah, And I rode here, so you know I had to get out of bed and ride here. That's quite hard work, so that made a bit of a sweat.
Patrick Black saying hi from Dahab. How you doing, Patrick? I hope it's all good. Hope your knee is better. I know you had a pretty savage knee injury, but and I hope lockdown in Egypt is all right. I can imagine it's a bit strange out there. But probably quite nice, like it is here.
It's a shame, because they started flying back to Egypt, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Sharm was starting to open up again.
In August, I think EasyJet were going to start some flights, but shame that's cancelled. Hey, look, we're going to have a break. Okay, we've got some adverts coming up. I'm going to go and sort out my sweat. Thanks, Bubble, for reminding me of that. And we'll be back in about 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 4 minutes, 21 seconds, 0.5, maybe a little bit more. So go and grab yourself a cup of tea, grab yourself a beer, Sunday social. Don't go away, we will be back in 4 minutes. Thank you very much.
Everything has changed in one moment. We enjoyed our windy paradise for a long time, but now it's time to stay at home. When all this is over, El Médano will be eager to welcome us back. We will be back for the morning run on the beach, for the swim in the sea at the sunrise. You'll be ready for new adventures, and we will be here to fulfill those dreams. We will smile again. We will feel the wind and the heat of the sun, walking down the beach to hit the water. But for now, let us dream. Let us plan our adventure, because tomorrow is one day less until we go out and live again. We will blast over the water. We will fly high and scream for joy. We will hug and conquer our fears. Our time will come soon, and we will reunite with the ocean again. We will enjoy the windless days like never before. We will be open to new experiences and try new sports. We will challenge ourselves more than ever before, because we will feel free again. We will feel free to fight the storm, to feel the power of nature. We will fall and stand up again. We will fight our fears and feel that rush of adrenaline again, feeling the smell of the sea and the sand flying over the beach. We will be free to enjoy our beautiful island of Tenerife, sunsets and sunrises. Feel the energy of the ocean. We will drive around the island, discover amazing landscapes, lose ourselves in nature, and find peace. We will be back. You will be back. We will meet again. Volveremos.
Stretching. Oh, we're live. We're live.
We are back.
New t-shirt. Lucky enough, I've got a good supply of Goya t-shirts. So I've changed this one for you, Bubble. So now you don't see my sweat. How's the break? Did you enjoy the adverts? We had a quick little bit of a refresh.
Put some makeup on.
Put some makeup on.
Changed the t-shirt.
Yeah. Went for a quick ride.
Did some push-ups.
Yeah. Drank a beer.
Yeah.
The truth. Okay, cool. So we've got a few more questions.
All right, so back to it. Sergio, how you doing? What combination of freestyle board and foil do you recommend for light wind? Free ride board and foil for light winds, and he means in less than 10 knots. That's the limit, really.
Yeah.
That's getting down there.
It depends how and what route you want to go down on the foiling side of things. Like me and Luke are kind of more, should we say, free riders?
Yeah,
free move.
We're
like
not,
we just
not
like
on the
to
speed
cruise.
foils, are we? We're
Yeah.
kind of
There's like
dive down with threes and just a bit
yeah,
more
it depends
cruisy.
what you want to learn
Yeah.
to do. It depends who you want to race and stuff. But like for me, I always explain to people like it's like when you learn to windsurf and you learn to jibe. You don't jump on full-on slalom kit to learn to windsurf. It's heavy. It's quite technical to sail. Like for me, foiling's the same. Like foiling should be plug and play. It should be just plug your sail in that you use every day anyway. Jump on a board, and it should like you get that little bit of lift and that excitement, and that's what foiling should be about for me personally. But then I haven't gone down the racing route, so I have a slingshot setup where like basically my biggest sail I have is a 5.0 or 5.3, and normally with a big foil and a big front wing I can have my slingshot board. I chuck my way sail on that. Go out in 10 knots. We can normally go around in 10 knots, can't we?
10 to 12 is pretty good with that, for sure.
And then normally I can use that until it gets to about 17 to 18 to 20, and then I just take my 5.3 and plug it onto my big wakeboard and go out on that. So that's that's how I foil, and I try and keep the stuff limited to the equipment, because you can have a foil sail and a foil board, and so it depends on how your budget is and how much you want to get into it, really.
I think it also depends if you're going to use the free ride board for free ride as well as for foiling, or if you're going to have it as a foil only board, because that changes what you're looking for a lot. If you're looking for it to foil as well as to go blasting on when it's windsurf weather, then that really makes your selection a lot different. We look at a lot of the PWA guys are now training foil pretty heavily. And we watch them do it all winter, and they go out in kind of 6-7 knots and they're up, but of course they're on 8.9s, 8.4, full cambered warp or foil sails equivalent, and they're on 140 litre very wide short.
They're going fast.
They're going fast, and they're on really fast foils, so it's possible to go in really light wind, but I'm not sure. Unless you're doing it at a really high level, probably the free ride stuff, it can still get you up very early with a big front wing for sure.
It's about enjoyment. But that's the thing. It was interesting. We were here a couple of years ago, and Lee, English Lee, he was getting into foiling. He's a really good slalom sailor. He's been in second in the UK for the last couple of years. He comes out here every year and trains. And of course, because he's hanging out with all the PWA guys, his first foil, he got the full-on race one with a Fanatic race board and stuff. And the guy couldn't even jibe on a foil, and he's never been on a foil before. And I said to Lee, look, Lee, honestly, go back to basics for the moment. Go out on something that's a bit more easier, that doesn't feel like death on a stick, and you're going to die straight away as soon as you get it up. And he did that, and he went out on something that was a bit more user-friendly. He learnt to jibe, and then he converted that onto his race stuff, and now he's pretty confident. So I'd say, and I think we've had that with Simon Lunt. Simon's a good friend of ours, and he got onto foiling straight away and brought a race board and a really high-spec race foil that's fine, but he pretty much scared himself every time he got it up.
The race foils as well, they're designed to either go really tight to the wind or really broad. And he's just trying to go across the wind backwards and forwards, and it's actually quite uncomfortable. You're either it really wants to go close to the wind in the foot straps, or when you're coming downwind, you go very broad to control it, and like to learn, it was very, very difficult, wasn't it? It was full power.
Yeah, it's pretty tricky. So keep it simple. I actually worked with a couple of guys. Scotty McKercher's got a brand called Smilk, and he's on it. He does I had one board that it was so good that someone begged me to sell it basically in Brazil, and I'm a bit gutted I did now. But it was an 8 foot, I think. It was a really good sup board. It had a really nice pintail on it. He put an overextension box on it for foiling, so I could either windsurf foil or the wing foil. I know people are probably cursing that at the moment, but if you get into foiling, you'll understand it. And the board supped. It had a proper track in, so I could teach windsurfing on it too. I could do my light wind stuff, and I could put a foil in to go foiling. It was like a board that did 4 or 5 sports in one. And for me, that's really practical, and it was perfect, you know. And so I really love that board. And you know, there's a few boards out there, and I think it's going that way where, well, I really got into the strapless foiling too. Like that was, you know, I didn't feel like I could move my feet anywhere I wanted to. And that's encouraged me to kind of, you know, go into the sup foiling and the winging, and maybe one day go and surfing foiling if I'm good enough, but probably not.
We'll see. All right, so VRZ Colin is saying hi. He struggles a lot with spinouts, especially when he sails upwind. I know it has to do with positioning and weight distribution, but he just can't figure it out. What's he doing wrong?
Well, spinout's always pushing too much on the back foot.
Yep.
A classic is if you come from a, you know, like a free ride board with most free ride boards that you get, that 130, 145s and 115s, normally are over finned. Most manufacturers put not so much nowadays, but definitely back in the days, they used to put really big fins in, and they used to say, yeah, it's really early planing. And you can get away with just stamping on the tail, and that will just get you going and get you planing because you've got the volume and the fin lift. Most of the thing that we teach, most of the time when people come on the intro to wave stuff, is they get on a waveboard and they spin out because of that situation. So top tip for learning to sail more off your front foot, and if you can do this on your slalom board too, you take it to the next level. But this is the probably easiest way I can explain it. If you just, this is going to make, left foot's going to be my front foot. I'm going to lift up my big toe. If you can see my feet, I've got some new socks on today. What are they? They're Rainbeers. My Christmas socks. Okay, so this is my front foot strap. This is my back foot. What I'm going to do is lift up my big toe. Okay, I'm going to roll to the outside of my foot. I'm going to bend my knees slightly. I'm just going to lean forward and see if I can take my weight off my back foot. Now, when doing this going upwind, you feel like you're nearly getting catapulted. Okay, if you can do this, it will take all the weight off the fin. Now, also that will encourage the sail to come forward, more in the middle of the board. Okay, and that will help keep the board flat and keep you planing a bit earlier too and flying upwind. And take pretty much all the pressure off the back of the board. Top tips to spin out?
Top tips to spin out is to get the weight through the front foot. Like Colin said, when you move that weight to the outside of the front foot, especially going upwind, that's going to help engage more of the rail, and it's going to get the weight off the back foot. The other thing to do is maybe make sure you're away from the sail. If you're bringing the sail close to you, it puts a lot more of your weight down through the board, and you tend to stand on the tail more. As soon as you get distance from the sail, you will naturally put a lot more of your weight through the harness, which takes it down through the mast foot and will flatten everything off and stop that pressure directly on the fin.
It's that short line situation, isn't it? Because what happens with short lines, as you lean back, you end up pushing really hard with the sail and everything. So having longer lines just allows you to get low, and also keeping the sail upright. With short lines, you're always pushing against the fin. So a bit of a kit setup, and yeah, changing, that's one thing that we do a lot with that's changed. Like the equipment's changed a lot. It's got a lot shorter and fatter and a lot wider, and we've had to change our sailing style to adapt to the equipment. But once you do this, at first it may feel a bit strange, but we guarantee once you get used to this, it's a game changer. Like literally, we have people come off our clinics going, wow, that's amazing. And you know that annoying thing that when people go that little bit extra upwind, that front foot technique, that's going to get you that little bit extra few degrees upwind. Yeah, so keeping your weight forward and just keeping that pressure off the rear. the rear.
All right, so next one is a lovely young lady called Mariella from Brazil who says she's your #1 fan and her dream is to learn how to back loop. She knows with her soul she just needs your amazing coaching. Do you have any tips? Lots of love from your girlfriend.
Yeah, lots of tips. Find an aeroplane that comes from Brazil to probably Lisbon and then to Tenerife, and I'll teach you whatever you want. There we go. Bit of a bad situation. My other half, my lovely other lady, is stuck in Brazil, and I'm not stuck here, but we're away from each other. But yeah, come here and I'll teach you whatever you want. We've got the whole summer to ourselves, it looks like.
But thanks for tuning in. It's a bit earlier in Brazil.
This is the first time she made it, I think. Right? I think she's just woken up.
How many hours behind are they?
She's like me, she sleeps a lot. We're like pandas. I don't know if you've ever seen Kung Fu Panda? Kung Fu Panda 3? And he's like, right, we're going to do proper Kung Fu training. And he's like, right, the first thing in training is sleep. It's like, perfect, I'm good at this. And that's a bit like me and my other half.
Okay. Right, so Rob Hurst, looking at going for the forward this year. Any suggestions on things he can work on whilst he's stuck on the land?
Yeah, well, we learned to forward together, didn't we? And we were working in Sibby back in Cornwall on a lake, and the most important thing with a forward is do your research. Like have it in your head. Like we could literally, I'd wake up in the morning, I was staying at Luke's parents' house when we were working together when we were younger, and I used to wake up, do a quick forward, go downstairs, have breakfast, forward into the car. I can remember even going across the petrol station, filling up the car, doing a few forwards, and it's a muscle memory thing. I think that's the most important thing. I think any time that you want to go and try a manoeuvre in windsurfing, if you don't know exactly what's going on, if you can't do the theory on dry land, I'd probably recommend not even trying, because that's where you're going to injure yourself. I know a lot of people, that's when they do injure yourself. Bad advice too, anybody that says all you do is hit a wave and just pull in with your backhand cannot forward, okay, because that's not what you do. And that's where maybe if you're lucky enough, I've got a good friend from Brazil, Colin, good name, Colin Bryan, and he was like, when I first met him, he had 18-inch harness lines, tiny foot straps, his boom up there, and he was a good sailor, he's got good style, and he was like, yeah, I did a forward once, and never again, I ticked that box, and I was like, really? It was like, for us, once we learnt to forward, once we did it once, we were like, oh, is that it? Is that easy? And it was, for me, the most hardest but easiest move I've ever learned. Hardest being mentally, trying to get over that fear of holding on and you know, just that little bit, because we're so used to letting go of the catapult, we're like, oh, I'm just holding on. But actually, once I rotated, it was the easiest move I ever learned, because I landed and then sailed away. So yeah, just do lots of research. Again, I'm gonna have to big up Tonky for this, but if you go to Continent 7 or any of online and have a look at Tonky Fran's forwards, Pit Pardo does good forward, Andy Bubble Chambers got some good forwards on him. There's a few people, Phil Costa, well, everybody, but like Tonky for me, his flat water forwards are that next level, and he's like really good. So I learned a lot watching Tonky when I was younger.
You have to understand the move, don't you?
Yeah,
so
it's
like
that.
When you haven't got the ability to go windsurfing, like visualizing it in your head, watching, like Colin said, videos of other people that do it really well, and trying to look at what makes theirs better than the people that don't do it so well. So have a look at some YouTube crashes, some of that, because it's good to identify what makes the bad and why the people that do it really nicely, what they're doing differently, and then visualizing that before you even go for the move is really, really important.
Yeah, I think the key for the forward too is, of course, the backhand going down the boom because it's a leverage, but releasing the power when you're going. Like once you're taking off, I think that's where a lot of people make the mistake. As soon as they hit the wave, that everybody says all you need to do is sheet in. They don't actually allow their board to release, and they just sheet in. So I'm sailing along with power, and then I sheet in again, and you're just pushing everything down. You need to get the board up there first, and how we do that is release that power that releases the master pressure that allows the board to go up, and we can put it in a position. And you end up being in a position where you've got all this power, but you're not using it, and that's when we pull in to then use that power to come round. So yeah, releasing the master pressure is definitely the key for the forward. And also, a lot of people go, yeah, I can jump, but I can't forward. It's not like, I always try and tell people, get the jump out of the mind and think about forward. It's like when we learned Vulcan, it's like, yeah, but I can't jump that tack. It's like, well, we're not actually learning to jump, we're learning the Vulcan. And a forward, a jump's like that. A forward, you're going forward, a back loop to back loop, you know, it's not a jump. So, and a jumping position, when we jump, we always lean back like this, where actually forwards, we do the opposite, where we get over the middle of the board and then we go. And I think, get that out of your head, it's not a jump, it's a forward loop. And then later on, once you can forward and jump, you can combine the two together and then start doing big stalled forwards. Hey mate, that's our mission this summer.
That's it, when we're allowed on the water, we're going big.
But a bit of coaching and do your research.
So Rob that asked a question, he was tuning in from Buffalo in Niagara Falls, Canada. So we've gone quite far and wide today. That's good to know.
Nice.
Brazil, New York, Canada. We're good. Right, so this one from Jeff Smith. He came out in December, had a lesson with myself to show him the best way to get through a shore break. It was probably his first time in the waves. And he was listening to me say that there's possibly a flat water spot in Tenerife, and has anything happened with that? Now, for those of you that come here a lot, there's a big harbour, and I know there's some videos, and the slalom sailors go up there and have a bit of flat water action up there, and certainly some people have foiled and stuff up there, but at the moment it's in the middle of nowhere. So sadly for kind of the regular windsurfing, it's not really accessible.
I think if the good thing about Tenerife is you don't need a car. Like that's, you know, you can get to the airport. You know, you go to Fuerte, I love Fuerteventura, but you do need a car as soon as you land. Here in Tenerife, you can get a taxi from the airport straight to the beach, and you don't really need to leave the area. If you do have a car and your own equipment, you can then go up one junction on the motorway, and they do have that flat water spot. But at the moment, there's no sort of rentals or anything like that.
No rentals, no safety cover, no lifeguards. So
it's all on your own risk. Yeah. But it is super flat and it is pretty amazing. Yeah, if the government's listening, we would like to set something up one day. That'd be good. We're on it. So hopefully. But yeah, epic for foiling. Jamie Knox from
Brandon Bay, Windsurfing.
He's done a few videos from up there. He's got really into the foiling and winging. He comes here a lot in the winter, and he's out there pushing himself. And up there is just super flat, so you can really learn the basics and stuff. So
yeah,
it's pretty tricky when it's wavy.
All right, so we've got Dave.
Hi Dave.
Go on, Dave.
Which Dave? I know quite a few Dave. Dave from Ireland?
Yep.
Oh yeah?
Yep. How much wave sailing is sail handling as opposed to surfing? Is it about steering the board and getting there? I'm off screen, so I don't know the rest of it. So how much of it?
It's a combination of the both. I'd say, like once you sort of can control the power of the sail, it's like, think about going around the corner in a car or a bicycle or something and having no throttle. Like, you know, the worst, I raced go-karts back in the day, and you know, I've done a lot of driving and stuff, and the worst thing you can ever take a corner is when you go around the corner, you put the clutch in, and they call it coasting, where you're not actually going on the engine and you're just relying on the momentum to get you around the corner. Now, if you ever get into proper driving, definitely the Essex boys would know this, being from Essex, you'd always use the gears to go around the corner and use the drive to go around. Now, a lot of people, when they get onto waves, is that they kind of drop in, they're bending their knees, but the sail's open. They've got no drive, actually drive. As soon as you sheet the sail in, it's like putting your foot on the accelerator. All that power in the sail is going through your mast, it's going to go through your rail, and that's going to help turn the board. So I'd say it's pretty important, wouldn't you?
I think it's really a combination of both. So you have very different conditions. If it's real wobble and ride, and you've only got 6-8 knots, and you've wobbled out on your wave board, and you're going in, it has to be a real surf style where you're driving the board and you're getting the speed from the rail of the board. If you then compare that to when you come here and it's cross onshore and it's 35 knots, you're going to use a lot of the sail's power to really drive you through the turn, because the waves aren't big enough and powerful enough to give it to you. So like the best sailors use both. I know I taught a guy from New Zealand who lived in Australia, and he was obviously a very good surfer, and I was teaching him to jibe, and he's like, I just can't come out planing. And I've never seen somebody drive through their front foot so much in a carve jibe. And it's like, why am I not coming out planing? His sail was just sheeted right out. Yeah. And I was like, move your backhand back, sheet in. Honestly, he came out faster than he went in, because his carving of the board with that front foot was amazing, because he was a very good surfer. So you need both.
Yeah, it's definitely a combination.
It changes
and the conditions. Yeah, exactly. Like classic hook keeper, when it's wobble and ride, they go out with a bit of volume, they won't even plane. But once you get on the wave, of course, as you pick up speed, you get apparent wind that gives you power, and then it feels like you get power from there in the.
But a lot of the big laydowns that you see is so that they can really get the rail in. They're basically ditching the sail and then driving through the whole rail of the board to keep the speed. Whereas here, you're never going to do that.
Actually, it's quite interesting if you ever see a really good wave sailor, windsurfer, and then watch them surf. Their technique is exactly the same, and actually, it's quite interesting because a typical good surfer, that's a good windsurfer, will kind of surf like he's good, like he'll do his bottom and top turn like he's still got the sail in his hands, and then you take that and put that when he's windsurfing, exactly the same technique. So it's a combination of the both, but once you get that sweet spot where you're using that power when you want to know you're using the power, it's really good, and you can get where you want and up vertical and off the top and everything. Cool.
Alright, so one from Rob Forte, Holiday Rob, Clubhouse legend. Now works, I believe, on very wealthy people's boats, just cruising around the world, still looking about 10, even though he's the same age as us.
Exactly,
really annoys me that. 2 days Every time older. I see a picture of you, I'm like, how's he still not look any older?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I will try and get some louder socks. Rob, what can I say? This was all that was available to me today. I'll work on that for next week if the shop's open.
I actually don't have many socks. That's why I'm wearing my Christmas socks. I literally don't. I live my whole life in flip-flops, and since I've had my mountain bike.
Yeah, mountain bike has ruined it. You go for a pair of socks every day.
I have to do so much washing. Like I have to go. I normally wear a t-shirt for 4 days, but now I'm sweating and stuff. I'm getting. I have to.
He is only awake for 2 hours a day, so 4 days is actually only 8 hours of wearing it, so it's not that bad.
My sister brought me these socks at Christmas.
But I'll get some louder socks.
There you go.
Right, moving on to Mike.
Mike Paul.
Any tips on landing backies, specifically the landing? I've got one tip. Don't take out someone else's board without asking them and then try and back loop it and snap it.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. Yeah. Make sure when you try stuff that you don't know what to do, it's on your own equipment, just in case you do damage it. You don't end up with a big bill. Unless, of course, you're renting stuff, and make sure you have insurance, and happy days. The top tip for back loops, it's all like most of the windsurfing manoeuvres, it's all the preparation. Like a lot of people, like a back loop, you want the wave to throw you up vertical, and if not, a little bit backwards. If you've got any forward momentum, yes, the good guys can land them like that, but it's bloody hard. You have a lot of power in the sail. But if you've got any forward momentum, like a forward loop, you go forward. Okay, a back loop, you go back. Now, most people, when they go try and do a forward, they jump like a back loop to then try and go forward. Again, if you're Brasinho or it's no problem. But for us learning, a back loop you want, it's to the point where the wave's nearly breaking. Now, the angle of attack's really important. You want to kind of make sure before you hit the wave that you've lined up your angle. Don't just turn on the actual wave face. I think that's the key. Like a lot of people, they get to the wave and try and turn right on the wave face. I try and line it up before and then just kind of set my angle and then attack it, and you want to come right up into wind. And try and keep it simple. I think, a lot of time people overthink stuff, and I always try and keep it super simple. Lock out that front leg, okay, keep it locked out with my nice socks, back leg tucked up, so that naturally puts your body position in the right position, okay. And if you ideally really want to just keep it really simple, 7 kilos your head, 5 to 7. So look, from there, if I just look over my shoulder, everything will then just drop. Now the most important thing with a back loop is you don't allow the nose of the board to overtake the sail. As soon as the nose goes past the sail, that's when I'm going to over-rotate. Now if you ever over-rotate a back loop or a push loop or a forward, what do? We just let go of the backhand, and that will make us just fall out the sky. Okay, and then so as we're looking over, just don't keep that front foot locked out and hold it there. Don't allow the foot to come through. Don't push through with your back leg. Keep that back foot tucked up like so. You can nearly get in the back loop position there. Okay, then from there, just looking over my shoulder, and that will allow. I try and keep everything minimised. Like I don't try and think, right, I'm doing this with the sail. I just try and really keep it simple. Look over my shoulder, spot my landing, and keep everything tucked in and keep that position. And I think just don't allow the nose to go past the sail. That's a good key. And spot your landing. Where do we spot our landing? Always want to try and under-rotate with a back loop and never over-rotate. Remember, 7 kilos is quite a lot of weight. So, like a lot of people, if, for example, if the wind's coming from my left, okay, what I want to try and do is land on a dead run. I want to try and undercut instead of over-rotate. So as I go, I look over my shoulder and I don't throw my whole head round, because then I over-rotate. What I will do is just like, if I go big, I'm like, ooh, 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 and just slowly then drop down. Keep tucked up, and keep the sail in close. I think that's good top tips. And most important thing is the vision and the ramp selection. Don't want to have any forward momentum. Any top tips for your back loops, Luke?
Oh, good. Go high.
Yeah, got to try them too. Go high, yeah. Any time that you learn any manoeuvre, I know it's a bit of a head thing, but actually, like, the higher you go, the easier it is. Like, you know, classic when people learn to push loop, they don't go high enough, and the mast sticks into the water. Hey Bartek, okay, you end up falling onto your back and then thinking that you're doing a push loop, but you're not. Okay, and the key to doing a push loop or a back loop is kind of get that little bit extra height, because then it gives you a little bit more time to think about stuff. Okay, but the most important thing, keeping that front leg locked out, overextend your toes, keep that board there, and then looking over your shoulder.
Alright, so now Dave McMullen, who is actually the Dave from Northern Ireland, so Cheney, I do apologise. Colin, he's getting a new Goya 1115.
Good lad.
Will he need an extra small fin for 5.6 and 5.0 on small to medium waves? P.S. Tell Lizzie, oh God, for basically looking after this lot, I think.
Yeah.
Is what he's getting at.
He's got a bit of a soft spot for your wife, hasn't he, I think,
Yeah.
Dave? Haven't you, Dave? Hope your wife's not tuning in. But
She's definitely tuned in.
yeah, okay, no, not your wife, his wife.
Oh yeah, maybe, yeah. No, she's probably
You've
tuned
got to
in
love
too.
it, the fact that everybody's got the hots for your wife. Well, look, good choice. I think Dave was here on the clinic. Dave actually surprised us out of everybody. He
sent it.
He sent it, went for his first forwards, even though he thought he was going for a back loop, but he got a good pick a few, but like did a perfect first forwards. So we're going to learn to forward. I think, how old's Dave? Is he 50 or 60?
I think he's 50.
Dave, pretty best, sir. I had a deal that I think in 2 years' time you're either 50 or 60. I'm going to throw it out there. I'd like to say, I'm going to go with 50. They're 40, Dave, no? But I'm going to teach him the forward.
Today,
I'm going to teach him the forward before he turns the big 5.0 or 6.0. So that's yeah, big range. I've got a while.
Got 12 years.
Got to keep it coming on the clinics. So sorry, looking how getting okay, right. So having a fin selection for your boards definitely makes a change. Like, you know, you can completely change your board by changing the fin. Like having a board like 115 is an amazing board, but you're right, with the bigger fin, with your bigger sails, you can drive a bit more on the back foot, and then as soon as it gets windy, you can still use that board. With you, Dave, you could use it 4750, okay, but by changing the fin, maybe I think the 1527 you may get with that, maybe coming down to 25 or 23 would be a complete game changer. Definitely after we've seen you sailing, you're sailing a lot more on the rail now and on your front foot, so you can get away with a smaller fin. Just means it turns easy. You can, you know, release the fin off the top and stuff when you're turning on a wave. So if it's flat water, keep to the big one. As soon as you get out, you live in Ireland, so you get beautiful waves pretty much all the time. So just kind of changing the fin size would make a difference. Try and stick to, like, I know, you know, with the Goyas, they work very close with MFC. Those boards do work with those fins, like, you know, they work very hard on doing all the research and design and stuff, working together with PO and MFC, and it doesn't annoy me, but it frustrates me a little bit when people buy definitely the Goya boards and they don't actually take the fins and they put random fins, and then they moan to me and say, oh yeah, it doesn't feel right. I'm like, well, why don't you have the stock fins? And I know 10 years ago or 5 years ago, putting stock fins in the boards, you'd change your fins straight away, but again, everything's changing. The fins are working a lot closer, like with the board manufacturers, to get the perfect setup. So what I'd recommend is the fin you've got, and just probably drop down, what, 2-3 centimeters?
Yeah, it does make a big difference. Like, just gives you a bigger range on the board, and if you're gonna go for waves and stuff, it just will make it a lot more fun in that environment for sure.
And anybody that's got like a freestyle wave, if you do go on the flat water and go lake sailing, put a little bit of a bigger fin in it, and also that will give you a bit more oomph to race your mates on the flat water. All about racing.
Alright, so this one's from Paul Catmull. Hi Paul, how you doing? As we're both looking lean and mean, obviously he could probably
He doesn't know us then, does he?
He's not got one of those widescreen TVs.
Yeah. He's looking from his iPhone.
Yeah. What do you
1.
reckon is the best exercise for lockdown windsurfers?
You're talking to the wrong person. I don't know. That's a good question.
So basically, I used to do a lot of racing and kind of that stuff, and it was very fitnessy back when I was a kid. And the simplest thing to replicate in the windsurf muscles in the back and everything is a rowing machine. So that's always pretty good if you can do it. But I would say you just want to do, if you can, some kind of reasonably intense interval training so that you're doing a combination of really getting your heart rate up, but then also working your muscles pretty hard. So if you look at interval workouts, I think that's probably the best you can do. But windsurfing is very obviously shoulders and lats and back intense. So rowing's pretty good for that. But the biggest thing I think after lockdown is that just your proper kind of cardio fitness is going to be low. So doing some kind of HIIT cardio workouts is going to help a lot, I think.
Cycling. If you want to kind of prepare yourself for the up and coming summer, the muscle memory thing is really good. A lot of people have been getting their boards out in the garden. You don't need a board, you just need a centre line. Again, we said about the tacking and the driving. If you learn that footwork, you won't ever have to think about that again. So that's a really good thing to do. Keep positive. I think everybody out there has had their ups and downs. I definitely had a few down weeks. And I think there is light at the end of the tunnel. And stay positive. But yeah, eating healthy, try not to get in. It's really weird here in Tenerife because now we start to see people after 2 months. Some people are completely ripped and fit. And they've gone down
really tanned as well.
Really tanned.
So you've only got a balcony in your flat. How have you managed that?
Yeah, they're kind of been, I'm not sure how it works. And then some people are just unrecognisable. Bubble. And I'm not sure I can say, sorry, Bubble. I'm not sure. I haven't seen Bubble. But I mean, like, I know there's some people that, we've seen around. We put on a few kilos, haven't we?
Definitely, yeah.
But there's some people, I think, we spoke to some guy the other day and he was averaging a kilo a week. So that's quite a lot of weight. So yeah, just kind of keep positive, eat healthy if you can, stay away from the beers. I didn't drink for 2 months. And I know that is pretty shocking for most people that know me.
They won't believe you, but I can actually say 100%
2 months.
He didn't drink for 2 months. I even tried to goad him in.
Yeah.
But no.
Problem if anybody knows me, as soon as I drink, and then I want to go and party. So it's like we're not allowed out of the house. So I had the attitude of I won't drink because then I won't want to party. So yeah, so keeping that sort of, I've kept quite healthy through not drinking and eating, trying to eat a little bit healthier. Got into cooking. That's quite a new thing for me. That's.
I think it's very hard, isn't it, when people are typically quite active, and I think that goes for a lot of windsurfers that probably surf, sup, do a range of other sports as well, and then suddenly you have all that taken away. I know that, like, one of the things I do love eating, but when you're active and you're doing stuff, it's fine. You can still kind of get away with eating maybe 1,000 or 2,000 calories more than you should if you're doing loads every day. But then you stop being able to exercise and you just keep eating the same because you love eating food, and that's where the problem happens. But it's, there's a variety of things you can do in your own home, isn't there? But I think it depends where you are, because a lot of the world haven't been locked down as severely as we are, and if you can get out and exercise in any way, it's going to be better. Yeah.
Well, I'm actually doing more exercise now than I probably, apart from the windsurfing because it hasn't been windy, but I've ridden more now than I've had probably for most of my life actually in the last week, just because it's like, wow, we can go out and do stuff now. I was like, well, actually, what exercise do I do apart from windsurfing? I had to think about it. Motocross is not really an exercise and it's noisy. You just sit there and go, wow, 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 wow. So then I got into biking. Running I just can't do full stop unless I'm in Egypt and I've got a bad stomach and I have to run to the toilet. But apart from that, so I've got into riding. So I think it's quite a good combo riding, as it works your legs and keeps your cardio up and stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. Any more questions?
Yeah, so we've got, this one's quite good, from the Plant Powered Zulu.
The Plant Powered Zulu.
Yeah, it's a cool name. Nice for you to tune in. Often feels that his lines are too long as his arse drags in the water. He's 1.85 meter tall and uses 26-inch lines. Those lines seem quite short, and most people suggest he should have longer lines.
Yeah.
But he's already bum dipping.
And you're already bum dipping. So that's Two things. If you didn't tune in last week, we had a little bit of a chat about harness and body position. Someone spoke about how their harness always rides up, and a lot to do with body position. We spoke about the winning lottery ticket, or if you imagine you're in jail, squeeze those bum cheeks together, okay, and that will sort that out. Now, being 185, that's my height, and having 26-inch harness lines, that's ridiculous, unless you've got really short arms. You may be a T-Rex, I think, isn't they have really short arms?
They do.
Yeah, we have a lot of T-Rex sailors. Now, look, you're probably holding on too wide, okay, so your grip's like this. So look, if I had I'll get my broomstick. Okay, so from here, if I'm wide, I'm quite close. Now, realistically, if you're in tune with your equipment, you should be sailing sort of shoulder width apart. Okay, that's our comfy position. Now look, my body position, if I do this and pull my arms in, I'm close, but actually being 185, if I just hunch, you can see, look at, if my harness hook's here, look how much distance I can get. I think Robbie Nash is, he's definitely not 185, but he uses something like 36-inch harness lines. Cowley used to use 38s. Yeah. Okay, so it's a lot to do with your body position, and I guarantee it'll be your arms on the boom. Try and bring them closer together, okay, and that will stop that. Also, maybe encourage yourself to push away from the actual harness line too, and that will help commit your weight into it. Thumbs at the top.
Thumbs at the top, definitely.
Right, put your thumbs at the top when you're holding on to the boom, and that will just help you relax and won't encourage you to pull in too much and holding on for dear life.
Yeah.
Anything else? But definitely 26 is wrong.
If you're still dipping your bum in as well, if you're planing, you're in the foot straps and everything's working okay, when you have the shorter lines, it just means that you pull the sail on top of you, which means that you are still committing, you're getting your weight outboard and your bum's able to hit the water, but nothing's that efficient. So when you have those longer lines, by moving your arms closer together, keeping the distance, like Colin said, it means that then you can be at the same body position, but your rig will just be upright, which is a lot more efficient as well. So it will help you plane a bit earlier, but 26 is really short.
Your friends are definitely right. You're wrong. It's wrong. Look, one thing I will say is, depends on harness lines. If they're 26 nil pride old school ones, they're probably about 34s.
Yeah.
But it depends on the brand. We spoke about that on video 1, I think, about keeping an eye on that, but your friends are definitely right, and it may feel strange at first, but you're going to have to change a few things by squeezing those bum cheeks together, get your hips up, bringing the arms a bit closer together, get yourself out from the kit. But look, at first, and we always say this, when people go big foot straps or longer lines, it's going to feel weird, okay, definitely at first, but you've got to bear with it, you've got to give it more than an hour. But I guarantee once you get used to it, you'll go, wow, bloody hell, why didn't I do that 10 years ago? Okay, it will change your sailing.
Right, so Mike, Toby, what's a modern boom height?
It's a personal preference, I'd say.
We have a range though, don't we? An acceptable range.
Yeah. I'd say anything from, so your nose, mine's quite big, so anything from there to your nipples. Depends where your nipples are, you know, if you're from the Isle of Wight or somewhere, maybe they're around there or a bit further down, but anything from sort of your nipples to your nose, and also depends on the discipline and what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like for example, when you're going out in big waves and you're surfing and you wobble and ride, you actually have a lower boom that encourages you to get over the kit more when you're surfing.
Freestyle very high typically.
Well,
does it change?
It changes, and freestyle's really funny because I was there working in Venezuela when Gorlito and Ricardo were winning the world champions, and like basically whatever Gorlito did, that would be the fashion. So one year he had his boom super high and everybody's like, oh, he's got to have high booms, you know, and then next year he'd have a really low boom, everybody's like, oh, he's got to have a really low boom because Gorlito's doing it. So I think the most important thing, as we keep on saying, is you've got to be comfy. Like I always say, you know, if you put your arms out like a zombie and just lift them up an inch, okay, that's a good position to be in when you're on your board. Now, when you're overpowered, of course, if you lower your boom, it encourages you to be a bit heavier, so that's a really good tip when you're overpowered. And again, in lighter winds, and definitely when the water's a little bit flatter and calmer, having a little bit of a higher boom. Changing your boom, do you change your boom when you're sailing?
Yeah, if the conditions change.
Yeah,
for sure.
Exactly. So if the conditions change, by changing your boom, will actually do something to your outhaul. By lowering your boom, will naturally put some outhaul on your sail that will make the sail a little bit flatter. So if you're out there on the water by just doing one thing, by changing your boom and knocking it down, it will flatten off your sail, it will encourage you to get lower, and that will change. And then the opposite, if the wind drops, by knocking your boom up a little bit, encourage you to stand a bit taller, being lighter on your feet, and also will get you going a bit earlier, and it will give you a bit more power because it will naturally let the outhaul off by putting your boom up. Gives you a little bit less outhaul.
All right. So Paul Elliott says he's loving these. Thanks for taking the time. You're welcome. Thanks for tuning in and watching. And then maybe we'll make this the last one. What time are we on? Been here a while, have we?
We've done an hour and 20.
So we'll make this.
People are still tuned in.
We'll make this the last one. So Paolo.
Ciao, Bella.
How you doing? Nice of you to tune in again. And he wants to know: are you planning a new intermediate clinic soon, like Sardinia, that was just cancelled due to COVID? He's not sure his wedding will last that long if you don't allow him to windsurf together with his wife.
Paolo, you little legend. Okay. This guy, he joined us in
Ireland was the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah, Ireland.
Never sailed waves. He's like, I don't really know what I'm doing.
Yeah, had his Norby,
sent it,
and was ripping. And this year we had he hangs out with a couple of a good Italian friend, Vincenzo and Mauro and stuff. And he came to Cape Town this year on his honeymoon. It was a bit on the limit.
A bit risky.
Yeah, it's a bit risky, but lucky enough his wife's a legend and that's why he married him. And he learned to forward, and Diddy learned to forward too. Like, he absolutely sent it, so respect to this guy because he really learned to forward. And part of the deal was him coming to Cape Town was for me to do like an intermediate course for his wife to get up to the level so they can hang out at the same places and go windsurf together. Fortunately that got cancelled this year. Look, it's intermediate. I do love teaching intermediates, but it's something that a lot of people do teach, and that leash in the market is that little bit more than that's what we teach. But after sort of going to Greece and working with Tony Frey and stuff, I did a week or 2 weeks with intermediates and I absolutely loved it. And like when you teach someone that's been windsurfing 25 years, it's quite hard to teach them, not new stuff, but it takes a while for it to go in. When you got someone that's learning to water start and harness and foot straps, they're like a sponge, they absorb so much. And it can teach them so much, and I forgot how much joy as a coach that was. Yeah. And so I'm a big fan. And Luke, actually, your expertise is that sort of level too, isn't it? Like I did
a lot of that.
Yeah.
And, well, like you say, it's a much more not rewarding, because when you take really high level people and you make that one difference,
that makes a difference too.
Sometimes at the really high levels you have to break people's technique down, and they're like, I've just got worse.
Yeah.
And for like 2 or 3 days you're like, please stick with it, it's gonna be all right. Yeah, I know it feels a bit dodgy right now, but you needed to do this. And they always come back and say, yeah, it is much better. But with intermediates, it's more of a blank canvas, isn't it? It's like you teach them the right way from the beginning and everything's that bit better.
What was really interesting for me was I taught a lot of intermediates when I first started working with you back in the day when I was coaching, and I was kind of working from a manual. Like the RYA do a really good scheme of where how they teach the coach and stuff, and it's really good. And then I believe, or to teach, and then I believe you start to do your own theory. And then I was teaching advanced for 15 years for people to forward loop and wave sailing, and then I had the opportunity to work with Tony Frey in Greece and taught intermediates, and it was quite interesting for me. Well, you know this, I came back buzzing from it to the point where I organised a clinic this year because I did my own style of coaching, and if anybody's ever been on my clinic, it's quite unique and a bit different and out there, but it works, kind of, I hope. And for me, it was like, right, actually, this is how I do it, and I taught the intermediates a complete different way than I did 15 years ago. And it was amazing. Like, it was so, like, for us as coaches to see people coming off the water, big smiles, doing their first water starts, to just flying around in the foot straps with control. It's why we do it, you know. And for me, it was like, it's so inspiring that I was like, right, we've got to do another one. And the plan was to go to Sardinia to reconnect that connection again. I love Sardinia, and we wanted to go back there this year, but of course of the situation, we never made it. So look, my whole life's been on hold, like everybody here in our industry, in the tourist industry. Let's just see what happens. But I am ready to go, because definitely I've had no income for the last 6 months now, or 3 months. So yeah, I'm ready. But truthfully, honestly, looking at stuff, unless Tenerife opens, I think we're probably going to stay here and hopefully try and get some people out here. If not, just have Cabezo to ourselves for the whole summer. And then our next clinic is Ireland, really, the official one. I may try and go to Athens for a few weeks, so maybe that's an option.
I tell you what worked well for one of the guys last year in Ireland was he just shipped off his lady to Jamie every day, didn't he? And then he came windsurfing with us.
Yes, this
so
is
there
very
you go.
true.
That's
Actually,
a potential solution for you.
Is Ian coming this year?
I don't know.
There you go, Paolo, Island. If it doesn't come, we can get Jamie Knox to give us some one-to-ones every day, so then she can come and join you, and he can drive down.
Because there is pretty good flat water in Ireland, isn't
yeah,
there?
really
like,
good.
there's good
Yeah.
spots.
Yeah,
for sure.
We're a big fan. That's why we always go back there, because there's always different options. Hey, look, guys, well done. If you're still tuning in, and we still got people tuning in, thanks for listening.
that's a resounding no.
Yeah,
but
we will see. But look, next week, if we get some good feedback and it takes you guys to let us know if you enjoyed it or not to keep us going. If not, it's no issue for us, but we kind of enjoy it. It's good to have a bit of banter.
I reckon 20,000 views and we'll shave Colin's head.
Yeah. Let's not think about that. And maybe next week, because we're going into phase 1, we may go live and direct from outside, because we're allowed to be. We're not actually meant to be here right now. We had to sneak round the back and come into TWS. But thank you very much, TWS, for hosting us. Thanks a lot for the guys for letting us and putting an amazing production on. Cheers, boys. And cheers, Luke.
Yeah, welcome, Colin.
And hopefully next week we'll be a bit slimmer and hopefully a bit more tanned. And yeah, if we get over 20,000 views, I may shave Luke's head. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy. Hopefully stay safe, stay at home. Please keep to the rules. We love you all. Hopefully see you soon. Woo!
Adios.